Welcome everybody. It's Woolly Wednesday or Fiber Wednesday or Mohair Wednesday. I am Kim Beeler, the owner of Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill, and I am here in the shop. That is technically my husband's shop, but I've taken over a little bit and he watches this, so he'll love this moment. But I'm going to flip you around. What's happening on this week at the mill? There's my cute dog, one of them, there's another one. So I have this giant bag. This is a giant bag. Like, I'm gonna say 15 pounds or so of mohair, and I've had it forever, like a couple of years. Here's some of it that I have pulled out. It has like no VM. It's lovely. It's just dirty and it's just piled pounds and pounds and pounds in a bag. I got this from a local small shepherd here not too far from me, and this was just in her stash from years ago when she had goats. So this is very, very many years old, but it's been stored well. So we're going to take this to the mill, wash it. And then I also have some carding. Who knows where this vlog will start, but, or no, I'm sorry, not carding, picking. We're going to do some picking today. Okay, see you in a minute at the mill. All right, you guys, we are at the washer and I have that mohair here. And so the joy of mohair is that it does love to felt up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be in camera for you all first. I'm kind of going to go through, I really didn't skirt this. So I'm just going to go through and start to pull some stuff apart. And then I'll just pull the part out like this. I'm having to really tug at. So what's going to happen when it hits the water is that it's just going to, felt up more. So we're going to set that. We're not going to wash that. That's already felted on the goat. So there is no point. And some of this is going to be like that. Now, some of it I can kind of open, and I will open it before I put it in there because that just lets me know. And what tends to happen is if you get some felting, it's like a tangle in your hair. If you get some kind of felting action, we're going to take that chunk out, and you can see there's kind of a different look to the stuff that I'm going to end up pulling. This looks a little more hairy and has a lot less shine to it than this. And so that's kind of a giveaway, right? Like if I see fiber that looks a little different, then maybe keep a closer eye on it. But what happens when there's these really tight, which leads me to another thought, but I'm going to stick to this thought. When you have a tangle, it just starts to pick up more and more tangles, right? So the same thing kind of will happen in the washer. If you have a chunk of fiber, whether it be wool, mohair, whatever, that is trying to felt, it loves nothing more than to pull other fibers along with it. So I just like to start out without fibers that are kind of going to do that. So I'm going to go through and just kind of open stuff up. I'm not like being insane about it, but it's just a way for me to check to see, is this felted? You know, is it good? Because this really didn't have any VM. So I just kind of grabbed, and you can see that's kind of another chunk of that wool or fiber. So I'm going to go through here, and otherwise I'm going to treat it basically like I would with wool. For my washer, my wash cycles do not change. So whether I'm doing a fine wool or a wool or a mohair, like nothing's going to change there. That's just VM that I'm picking out. So I'm just opening a little bit, which most of you by now know that I do this with all of my wools to varying degrees, sort of, you know. And I'll show you. That's just really short and kind of not quite the right feel. This has a lot of guard hairs in it, so I'm going to leave it. So and then the wash cycle is going to be the same. It's not like it's going to be more delicate or anything like that, or different temperature. I wash everything basically, you know, super hot. This of course does not have lanolin in it because it is mohair. And as I've talked about before, sheep are the creatures that create lanolin. All these other fiber creatures do not. Sometimes you might get, I have seen this and heard of it, where if you have sheep and fiber goats living together and they get along, sorry, there's some construction outside and that they will rub, the goats, you know, and sheep will rub on each other, and then it may feel like the goat fiber has lanolin on it, and probably just byproduct of being friends with sheep. So Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing this. I'm not gonna have you watch the whole thing, and then we'll get this started and we'll see how this all washes up. It's also a good thing, like, as long as fiber is stored well, and for me, by stored well, I'm saying it wasn't sitting in a plastic bag in and out of the sun, like that one spot in your house where the sun comes and goes. Don't put your raw fleeces there. There's no vermin that got into it. There's no moths that got into it, and not just like any moth. There's lots of moths in the world. We're talking about wool moths. So this is in good shape, even though it's years and years and years old. Like, she hadn't even had mohair goats for a long time. So there you go. Okay, I will come back to you when we get further along in this process, and then we'll also head to the picker. All right, so I have got all of this loaded up how I want, and now I am just going to try to get those closed. We're going to close that. I am going to set my cycle right, and you can see that the soap will come from out here. So all I'm going to do, whoop, we're going to reset again because it's not picking up the soap, which it does sometimes. There we go. And so it's going to take soap, feed it in the machine while it's feeding in hot water, and we'll let it do its magic. The one thing with this is I will only do one wash, because I'm not trying to get that lanolin out, the dirt, everything should come out a lot easier. So it should be just a one wash. There you go. See you in a minute. Okay, so it is telling me that it has got all the water in it that it needs. So I'm gonna go in, I'm just gonna stir it, not while I'm holding my phone over it, and then I'll let it finish washing. So I'll see you all on the other side when this is done, and we'll see how it looks. Oh yes, and I wanted to show you what else I'm doing at the mill today. So I have this tiny little bit of, let me pull back here and pull it out so you can see. This tiny little bit of, this is like a Merino, BFL, Border Leicester, Rommeldale cross. It's a fine wool. It feels lovely and fine. And I just have a little bit of it that I'm going to pick out today. And then if all goes well, time-wise, I do have some stuff to package up. The last of Fiber Club is going out, so I want to package that up and get it out. And then this is on the list for final. This is 100% Romney wool that I am going to blend with mohair. Speaking of, just a little bit of mohair to add some extra shine and just some extra glamour. Okay, I'll see you all when we're at the picker, and yeah, that's where I'll see you. All right, we are at the picker. I just gave it a quick vacuum because half of what you do when you own a mill is just clean up machines. It feels like you have to have a really good shop vac. So I am gonna run this through the picker so that the carder has an easier time of it. And I just, same thing, like here's a little chunk that got a little felted and washing. So I'm not having to open this up. I mean, the job of the picker is to open up fibers, but sometimes the picker needs a little help. This fiber is pretty short. I'm gonna say it is, well, it's not too bad. Maybe 3 inches. But as you just saw, there was like there's a chunk here and there where it got a little felted up during washing. To me, that's not the end of the world because I mean, that's not true. If I spent a ton of money, which I have done, I would be more concerned, but you know what? It happens, and I go through a lot of wool, so for me, it's not as big of a deal if I get a little chunk. A lot of times, maybe I probably could have caught that before I even put it into the washer. So I'm just gonna load this up pretty decently because it's pretty loose fiber. As far as the lock structure is really open, it's gonna pick easily, and then it'll head to the carder. Now, I'm not gonna show any carding in this video because it's a secret for my Fiber Club, what I was working on before. And so you'll see some carding videos next week. I would say next week there'll be plenty of some of this stuff getting through the carder. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this, and then I will show you what it looks like as and this is just a pound, tiny little bit. Probably just sell this all as one batch because it was from one sheep, and somebody can have maybe a sweater quantity, about, or at least a good amount of yarn when they're done. Okay. All right, the last of it is going in the picker. You can see those teeth in there working to open everything up. And we'll go take a peek over here. It's picking out beautifully. Today we had rain overnight starting and into today, and the humidity is good. The temperatures are cool, so we're not getting a lot of static, which is beautiful. You can see some of it trying to escape there. But okay, I will always forget this, but if you are interested in my fibers, everything I show on here, I do sell. My Patreon community is a great place to get first dibs at things like something like this. Somebody in there will grab up pretty quick. If you have no interest in my Patreon community, which does have lots of fun stuff going on, including a wool washing class next week, I'll flip to a wool washing class that we're doing, a little workshop that we're doing next week. Anyway, head over there. If you're not interested in Patreon, then head to my website, get on the newsletter. There's pop-ups on there as soon as you get on, and then that's the next best place to get updates on wool. This is a very odd angle and I look crazy, but that's okay. If I get more picking, oh, actually we're gonna follow up on the mohair. So we're not quite done yet, but I always forget to say, here's all the places you can find me or places to get the fiber and all that stuff. So we'll be back in a minute when the mohair is done. This is mill life. You're like boop, 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 boop. You just kind of run around in circles, keeping everything going so that you can be as efficient as possible while you're here. So, okay, see you in a minute. Okay, well, here is our mohair out of the washer. And I'll just kind of open a little bit of it up with you all so we can see how it did. This is my drying rack. Sorry if I'm making you all a little car sick today. This is just like I said before, how we roll. So I think you can see this pretty well. It washed up beautifully. I'm not feeling any, you can see how easily I'm pulling this apart. So I just do a quick little pull apart to get it drying out, but it looks like it washed beautifully. I'll keep picking at little chunks, but in general, I'm not seeing anything that felted up in it. And my wash cycle, so my machine, what it will do is it will run through it'll fill up with soap and water. It'll rotate very slowly, because if you agitate with hot water in there, that's when you get the felting. But it does just kind of rotate, and I'll usually flip it very gently once when I am doing a fiber like this. And I'm gonna stick this on the top rack, and we'll do one more while I'm talking. Sorry about the wobble there. So it will, and then it will just kind of do that rotation while it has the soap and the water in it. Very slow, very slow. And then it will rinse. Everything will drain out. It'll give it 2 wash rinses, just water, not wash rinses. And then it's done. So with wool, a lot of times I would do 2 cycles on it, depending on the wool and how well it cleaned up, how much lanolin. If there's still lanolin in my hands, I'll wash it again. But with most other animal fibers, I will just do 1 wash. I mean, that's not to say always, but most of the time 1 will do it. So anyway, we have got this. I will go ahead and turn the fan on. I just have a fan. There's no heat or anything, just to help circulate the air and keep everything moving. And we're set. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching this week. I'm not gonna get to this beautiful fiber. I'll show you once again. There's quite a bit, a whole Romney fleece, and I'll get to it next time. You'll see it picked out, but you know it's coming. You know it's coming, and if you really want some of it, jump into my Patreon community, because they'll be the first ones to know. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. Have a great week.